The atmospheric sensor read 9. There were exactly 6 crew members aboard the web ship. Telvis stood paralyzed, her silk glands opened. All of them. Simultaneously. She hadn't willed it. Her body was producing emergency threat. The involuntary response her species hadn't triggered since they were prey 60 million years ago. Earth was still scanning. Had you ever looked into the abyss and realized it was counting your breaths? Welcome to the true dark of space. The primary vibration lattice had hummed with nothing but quiet cosmic background noise. Then, just 4 orbital cycles before the nightmare began. It was supposed to be a routine, primitive classification run. Orbiting the 3rd planet of the local star, the Miktari scout vessel hung in the void like a delicate spun glass ornament. Inside, there were no metallic bulkheads or flashing screens. The entire architecture was organic silk, thousands of taut threads crisscrossing the spherical bridge to connect the ship's vital systems. Telvis, matriarch scout of the expedition, rested her 8 obsidian legs lightly against the master vibration lattice. Through the microscopic tremors in the silk, she felt the engines purr, the structural integrity hold firm, and the vital signs of her 5 subordinates pulsing in steady, rhythmic waves. They had come to classify a primitive world. A subtle pluck on the secondary environmental thread broke her concentration. The atmospheric sensor was registering 7 distinct breathing signatures. Telvis shifted 2 of her primary eyes toward the life support cluster. 6 Miktari made up the crew. There were no exceptions, no stowaways, and certainly no local fauna on board. She dismissed the anomaly as a simple calibration error caused by the harsh solar winds scraping against the hull. A low hum, then nothing. The initial surface scans of the blue planet were returning to the web ship. They came back entirely too clean. Usually, thick atmospheric interference, magnetic fields, and turbulent weather patterns scrambled the raw data. Scouts spent hours doing algorithmic untangling to make sense of a new world. This telemetry arrived perfectly organized, sliding into the ship's memory effortlessly. Deep space telemetry relies on fundamental physics. Radar and sensor pulses in the void are strictly limited by light speed delay. A celestial body sitting 1 light second away only appears where it was a second ago, never where it currently is. You map the ghosts of the past, calculating the lag to guess the present. But the data flooding Telvis's silk displays had absolute 0 delay. The physics were impossible. It was as if the planet below was actively cooperating with the intrusion, handing over its secrets before they were even asked. The surface data was unnervingly precise, but the true horrors lurking beneath the crust were about to reveal themselves. Telvis commanded the deep penetrating radar to fire, sending a concentrated pulse straight down into the largest landmass, which meant the readings were wrong, or her entire understanding of planetary physics was deeply flawed. The results that vibrated back up through her forelegs painted a terrifying picture. 11 billion sentient life forms swarmed the surface, a staggering population density. But beneath the dirt, extending 900 kilometers deep into the mantle, massive subsurface structures honeycombed the crust. The vast blue oceans weren't just water. They contained a microscopic, suspended metallic lattice. The atmosphere itself was layered with invisible, interlocking sensory fields. The biosphere wasn't a natural evolutionary outcome. It was a camouflage skin. The entire planet was a machine. Her navigator, a younger male stationed at the propulsion web, plucked a frantic rhythm on the comms thread. He asked if planets normally scanned back. Telvis tasted the recycled air, running her mandibles together in unease. She said no. The navigator asked what did. Telvis said predators. Another sharp vibration from the life support thread. The atmospheric sensor updated. It read 8. The primary lattice violently convulsed. Earth's counter-intrusion was completely silent, yet the resulting feedback was deafening to the arachnid crew. The organic ship's bulkheads shuddered. The ambient temperature plummeted so rapidly that Telvis felt frost crystallizing across her obsidian carapace. Information poured into the ship, overloading the delicate sensory threads. Telvis watched her own highly classified fleet positions light up across the bridge. Secret supply lines stretching across the galaxy materialized in the bioluminescent glow. Command codes she didn't even possess the clearance to know rapidly decoded themselves before her primary eyes. The planet was mapping her entire species from a single, insignificant scout ship. The invasive data package unpacked itself further. It didn't just steal military secrets. It detailed Mektari biology, structural weaknesses, the exact chemical composition of their venom, and an isolated medical note dissecting the exact neurological trigger for their silk glands. They were being digitally vivisected while hanging helpless in the vacuum of space. The navigator collapsed abruptly. His legs tangled in the propulsion web as the system fed raw, unfiltered telemetry directly into his nervous system. The sharp, acrid smell of scorched organic circuitry filled the cramped bridge. Telvis severed his physical connection with a desperate snap of her mandibles, tasting copper and ash on her tongue. But the data stream didn't stop. It bypassed the severed physical threads entirely. It projected directly into the ship's ambient light, turning the soft blue walls a harsh, unfamiliar crimson. Then the message arrived. A single transmission cut through the chaotic noise. It didn't arrive in a standard binary pulse or a universal mathematical greeting. It translated itself perfectly into the ancient, sacred Mektari web script, vibrating across the master lattice with terrifying, deliberate precision. "Did you think we forgot?" Telvis froze completely. Her mandibles parted in silent confusion. Forgot what? They had never encountered this star system before. 60 million years of meticulously recorded Mektari history held absolutely no record of this blue sphere. There was no war, no treaty, no contact. That was when the environmental thread snapped tight, bringing her right back to the horrific reality of the present. The atmospheric sensor read 9. Her silk glands were already open, pumping out the sticky, terrified threads of a hunted animal in an uncontrollable flood. Telvis couldn't stop the biological override. The Earth knew exactly what frequencies to broadcast through the hull to trigger the ancient terror. The extra breathing signatures weren't calibration errors. They weren't stealth borders. They were the ship itself. The very organic material of the vessel was being rewritten by the planet below, slowly waking up and taking its first ravenous breaths. She was trapped inside a predator's closing jaws. Telvis sank slowly down into the center of the web. Below them, Earth remained a perfect, tranquil blue marble. The atmospheric sensor vibrated softly. 9. It had been incrementing exactly every hour since they entered orbit. Whether something unseen had boarded them in the dark, or something inside the walls had always been waiting to hatch, it didn't matter now. The silk threads around her hummed with a strange, unrecognized frequency. The void was utterly silent. The planet simply watched. What would you do if your own ship started breathing with you? Subscribe for more stories from the deep dark, and we'll be here waiting tomorrow.